What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here. Delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. Subscribe to my newsletter and get some free comics. Exciting stuff. I have to go back to janky, which means I'm holding my deal this time because my tripod here, which I use for my phone, there's a little clip that goes on here that holds the phone, and I have no idea where it is. And I haven't moved stuff, so that means one of my kids did or something like that. That's the hazards of having kids. So there you go. But we're back with the 32 series by Ditko. I've been reading through these, as you've probably seen on the channel already. And what happened is in 2009, he started just basically putting out, I think, about quarterly issues of just new material, which he was doing with Robin Snyder Publishing. This is Act 7, which is the 12th issue of the 32-page Ditkos. There's 13, 14, and 15, and there's also an Act 6 in here, which is not represented on the cover. For some reason, they only put 4 covers on here and not the 5th one. Oh, they put the first one in the front. There you go. Okay, makes sense. So the second and third volumes here, the first one was Overture, and the first issue was full-on just essays, and then it went into comic work. The second one just has more comic work, and this has more comic work. So the first one actually had an introduction and everything like that. This one just gets straight into the comics without any of that sort of deal. And in the second volume, Steve Ditko introduced this character named Miss Eerie, which I assume is a reference to Eerie magazine, where he worked for a while there. And she's basically this gal who kind of just hangs out and pays attention to stuff, and then she puts on this mask and this like adventurer hat sort of thing, and then takes down criminals. So, and she gets really creepy when she puts her little mask on there. But good stuff all the way around. Typical Ditko style here. What I'm noticing about these comics is, as much as he does like to get into his philosophy a little bit in these, I feel like he's just having a little more fun here. Like Mr. A and some of the stuff from like the late 80s with Static and all that, he goes into pretty heavy-handed lectures in those comics. And these still have that same feel. Like you notice that like Ditko really wants everybody to look like they're kind of 1930s, 1940s level type of people, because I think, you know, he thinks the culture was a little better back then, so he tries to emulate that culture and reminisce on those times. And second, he just kind of like lets it go a little more. Like Miss Eerie, yeah, she's a hero fighting a villain and all that, but there's no like lectures on philosophy in that so much. I mean, there's just he's just back to really doing comics here. And this is a cool little concept called the Cape. The Cape basically sucks people, like bad people, into this like realm, and something weird happens to them every single time, and they get what's due them after they end up in that world. So that's pretty cool. And now we get into a little more philosophy stuff, force versus violence, and so he likes to talk about force and violence, and in the realm of coercion and all that is a bad thing, and then the good thing would be just reason and coming to terms with each other and things like that. So this is the villain, and so he's got a character, the villain with a V, and he always uses these squiggly lines to represent evil. So the squiggly lines is chaos and badness and all that. You'll see that the hero, who has a H and looks very similar when he shows up, ends up having straighter lines, and it's a different thing. The next character he has is called the Outline. These are some pretty unique characters, and this is just like a little devil talking on people's shoulders. But the Outline is like, he goes up to evil people and he just like pushes them and nudges them to do their evil thing, so they just get wrecked in the end, and then kind of laughs about it once they get their due. So that's the character there. Very, very unique concept. And so here's some of his stuff. He likes to mock fandom. I'm inquiring, why don't you compromise? And then some of the crying fans there to wrap out the first issue. All right, cool. We get another one called the explanation point question, which is, I believe, again, just a reference to the question. Another different design, and this is just like a interesting dude who kind of rolls around and fights mob violence. And you'll get a lot of fighting mob violence. And here's the mention of the hero that I mentioned. See how his lines are straight, orderly. He stands a little taller and normal, while the villain and all that are very quisling. And he actually fights the villain in this one. So there's some cool concepts in here. It's a very fast read, actually. These books, once you get past that essay in the first volume, very fast reads, and lots of the hero in here, and just some fun little action things. I really think he's just having fun here, and it's kind of nice to see him just be able to let loose towards the end of his career here. And check out these cool characters. So this is one called the Madman. And the Madman, again, most of these were introduced in the second volume here. But the Madman is talked about by everybody. He's crazy. Oh my gosh. And he just wrecks criminals just like everybody else. Very cool stuff. Like, just beautiful, cool designs all the way around through this volume. The Gray Negotiator is one he likes to use a lot. And the Gray Negotiator is a quisling, middle-of-the-road guy who says, why can't we just compromise? Compromise, good and evil. Yes. And then he freaks out whenever he sees a real rational man. So, very quisling guy. The E and I are very interesting. This is Ed and Ida. And this is a kind of weird one. And so there's two stories featuring these characters in this volume. And basically, there's a murder that goes down, and they both investigate it, and they're both guilty. That's what it comes down to. And they just try to point fingers at the other. So very, very bizarre stuff. Little commentary on knowledge. And then we get some single-page good stuff here, where he plays on a lot of his themes here. Back to Miss Eerie, interesting character again, and we get evil spreading across the world, and the hero doing his thing there. Beautiful drawing of the hero there. Cool. More of the Cape, and you see that he gets into his funky, weird world in this one. And the Cape has is very different every time. I think I look forward to those stories the most, because what the Cape does to the characters every time changes. Like, it just depends on the character what world they kind of go into. And this one, they go into this weird, melty world here. And that harkens back to the villain kind of melts, his whole body melts. Harkens back to actually his first story, which is in Old Charlton issue. And his first story that was published has a melting character like that. Very interesting. The Complainers is a commentary on art. Cool stuff. We get another issue of the explanation question. I think it's fun. I like him playing on the themes that he's done in the past, and then going through and doing these things. This is interesting. I love this sequence too. And all these planets see all the problems on Earth, and they're like, "We're out. Go away, Earth." That's really funny. The Distorter's an interesting one too. And this one, the Distorter just turns on a criminal, basically, is how it works. So it's pretty fun. And one more E&I story to wrap things up. And I think that's all we get in this volume. So good stuff. Overall, I like the second volume a little better. I think introducing the character of Miss Eerie and the Cape in that volume was just fun. The first Madman story was a little better than this one also. But this is just continuing the themes at this point. Pretty cool. I mean, he does creative stuff, and the stories don't look like other comic stories. You can't look at these and go, that's just a copy of, some Marvel story. It really is his own stuff. And so this is true artistry at its finest. Highly recommend this series. It's been a joy to read through these, and I think that everybody should pick these up. This will give you a primer on kind of where comics went wrong, and where Ditko is taking the opposite extreme of just kind of showing a different path. So, hope you enjoyed this. Hit that like and subscribe button, everybody. Let me know if you've been reading this and enjoying this as well. Love to hear from you. See you guys.